Hello, peoples. It's time. Alright, we are back again tonight. I know it's been kind of a really weird situation as far as the timing on the shows has been concerned, but we're back. And we're going to be doing it as we can. That's all I can say. We're waiting for our guests. One of our guests was sick tonight, and that's no problem. We can deal with that, but we're still waiting on the other one. Alright, man. Jacob, say hi, man.
Man. Hi, man. How's it going, man?
Yeah. So we're going to try and get us together as far as this show is concerned tonight. And since it's not about a specific subject other than storytelling, I think we should be okay.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
You hope?
Yeah, I hope. I hope we should be okay, because no, seriously, storytelling in general, it's a storyteller thing. You either everybody has their own Jones as far as their storytelling method is concerned, and I'm pretty sure you have one just like I do.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where you just have to, and sometimes, like I've mentioned on more than one occasion, storytelling never survives the first, as soon as a player gets involved, it's no longer writing shit down to be your chronicle. It's just, oh shit, what do we do now?
Well, that's not always the case, but
no.
I guess if you always plan for interruptions and sidetracks, then it's easier to get back on track.
Well, even then, you still your story never survives the first interaction with players.
Oh, I will disagree. You just have to. I guess for myself anyway, I find that don't plan too much.
No, I don't.
I think that could be why, because like I've heard stories. I've seen a couple of storytellers, but I've heard more stories. Most of the people that I've gamed with have been pretty decent storytellers as well. Where there's like very, very specific things that they plan or that they want to have happen or that they make happen, and you kind of feel at times that you're the whole railroad concept, right? It's called
theme park concept, but go ahead.
Yeah. But for myself, I guess I don't work that way. I have ideas, and I make I guess to me it's like a sandbox where, here, I'll make the setting. This is what's happening. You guys
go in it.
Yeah. And it's a living world that's going to respond to your choices. And sometimes I'll have like a concept or a theme or something that I want to try to get them involved in. But I will just put stuff out there for them to decide whether they want to do anything with it or not.
But you can't force your players into a track.
My story survives the players because I let them contribute as much to the story. I expect them to contribute as much to the story as myself.
So more so. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't really write it until we're already playing it.
But no, you're absolutely right about that much. But you can only railroad them so far before they jump the track on you. And when the shit goes sideways, you have to be able to recover. And are you capable of recovering in a situation where they've completely blown your storyline out of the woodwork?
Well, I'm going to find out within the next 2 months. Right. The LARP running right now. So,
and guess what? In a LARP, it's even worse. No, seriously, dude. Even in a LARP, it's even worse. Because most folks tend to take their LARP characters a bit more personal than their paper characters. And I've known this for longer than you've been alive, just saying. D&D characters back in the day were a big deal. And once you got a character rolling, you did not want to screw that character over or get him killed. That was the big deal. And then once you did wind up killing off a character, you had to listen to the whining and bitching and complaining for fucking months while they were rolling up a new one. And LARP characters feel to me in general more of that kind of feeling, is that you get more personally invested in a LARP character than you do in a paper character. You know what I mean?
Well, I can see where, because you're in the action and you're responding, it's first person, and you get that much more likely to be personally invested in the character and the situations involved. Whereas, especially like for tabletop, most people do will just describe what my character says or what my character does, and that takes the, gets an extra distance between that and what's going on, so you don't quite get as connected. You don't take it quite as personally.
Okay.
Right.
No, yeah, you've really just emphasized my point.
Yeah.
Is that there are folks, and I'm going to be honest, even in paper characters, some folks take their character, once they've spent X amount of time building this particular character, they get a little bent out of shape when you kill them. If they get killed. And usually it's not the storyteller that kills off their character. It's usually some other fucking idiot in the game. And I don't mean that in a bad way, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, you start some shit in Elysium, and then it gets taken outside, and then this anarch kills you deader than fucking Dillinger. I'm sorry, dude. Storyteller ain't got nothing to do with that. That's between you and that character. And just because I allowed your character to die, that's not really allowing your character to die. That's just, well, he rolled better than you did. What are you going to do?
it's all consequences, and that's that's like a major thing with vampire or mage, werewolf. The whole game revolves around the concept of consequences for your actions. And like to quote, and I've been quoting this recently too, because I've been in several discussions about people handling, trying to realize that it's not about winning, it's about losing gracefully. But to quote Game of Thrones, if you think this is going to have a happy ending, you haven't been
paying attention.
It's the world of darkness.
It's all tragic, dude.
Everything is out to get you,
and then some.
Even the people you think you can trust are out to get you. So there's really not. There's not really much that you can expect to go well for you. No,
don't ever. No, unless you're playing an MMO online, don't expect everything to work out for you. It really will not ever happen. Because if somebody plays their character better than you play yours, don't get mad at the storyteller. He ain't got shit to do with it. That's just you not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you're not good enough at what you say you should be at, that you wind up getting killed by somebody or some situation, not necessarily into the character. Just the situation will kill you dead as Dillinger. Okay? And that's the way that works.
Dead as Dillinger, eh?
Dead as Dillinger, yo. He's been dead a while.
Little bit, eh?
Yeah. So we're still waiting for one of our other guests, Brother Eric. He'll be along with us directly. I'm glad that y'all have shown up as early as you have in the chat. But okay, here's the thing I'm having an issue with, and I'd like some help.
All right.
Okay, I have a game coming up that you're playing in, and I'd like to get some more of our listeners playing. Is that I got the full storyline down, but there's some shit that I just don't have hammered out yet. And one of those is, okay, I made mention of this to one of the players, is that once you pass into the Shadowlands, how is a kindred gonna feed?
They can't.
They can't, and that's what I told him. I said, so we've got to come up with some options that will...
The way they can feed is off of other party members who are not Canaanites.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we haven't come up with the non-Canaanite fucking member yet. Just saying.
Yeah. So if you got a werewolf, that could be very bad.
Yeah. And then
my werewolf traveling companion is the only person I can feed on. That's not going to get...
No, I already mentioned you could feed on other Canaanites. We have a Giovanni coming. But that's not the point. It's not like he's just going to lay out and let you feed off of him.
Yeah, but eventually they'll run out of blood.
Exactly.
They only have so much blood that they are entering the Shadow Realms with. Doesn't matter whether they're Giovanni or not. Giovanni can't feed off Wraiths either.
No, I'm talking about the La Sombra feeding off of the Giovanni. Yeah,
so, I mean, they're still, both of them are going through blood as they're there.
Exactly.
So, it's a similar problem that the Kuwagen run into if they go to the Hells. They can't feed because they theoretically could, but it pretty much just is a water slide into spiritual corruption, so it's not a good idea. So any time that you're going to go on an adventure where you have to go to one of the Hells, you got to have a plan on how you're going to be feeding.
Yeah, exactly. And my point is that I made out to them was that chances are moving into the Shadowlands is going to be a bit later on in the Chronicle. Then they don't expect to just jump into Stygia and then go. It's not going to work out that way. Most of the effort is going to be getting into Stygia. So I said, but once you get there, dude, I'm letting you know up front, feeding is going to be an issue.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, that's the issues I'm having with the new Chronicle I'm planning to run. So you said you've got a LARP coming up?
Yeah, actually, I'm multitasking while we're on the show here. I'm updating everybody's XP tracking.
How so?
Game. Well, okay, so we have we've got boards for like communicating and doing downtimes and stuff, but that's how I'm dealing with giving them their XP is just doing it all in one conversation thread. So after each game, I post their XP in the thread so they know how much XP they have left, and they reply telling me what they're spending their XP on.
Okay.
And that way I can go back and I can see what all XP they've earned where they've spent it all. So it's kind of a handy thing to check. And it's doing this method because from doing all the online gaming that I've done over the last few years with like Living World of Darkness and Kyoto by Night and stuff like that, like your character sheet is done online on a board that the STs have access to, and all the XP expenditures are posted under your character sheet that only you and the ST has access to. And it made for a lot easier reference, especially for the storytellers, to make sure that no character sheets get fudged, or if somebody accidentally misquotes what they have, we can quickly verify to see whether or not it's true or not.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I'm not planning to use a how should I say a forum as far as this is concerned. Is you're going to get your XP at the end of the night, and that's all you're going to get. And OOC isn't part of my issue here. It's you're gonna do your role playing during the game or not at all kind of way.
Yeah. Well, and that's, for obviously, like, LARPs have a much more detailed downtime process than tabletop. I guess there are ways that you can use downtimes in tabletop. I've seen it referenced a couple of times in the books, but I don't think I've ever played a downtime game a tabletop game that actually had the downtime process.
Okay.
So that is the situation there, right? So
yeah, it's just I was kind of curious how you guys did your XP as far as LARPing was concerned, and in general, online role playing. Yeah, since this is going to be my first outside of the HTML chat room, this is going to be my first attempt at role playing online. Even though I'm not going to be the motherfucker RPing. I'm more into, going to be, alright, this is what you got. And you play Gakwai Jin on this one. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I love
it. I love it.
After our Kuei-jin episode, I was just like really, really jonesing, and I had to make one. So
I like it. No, it gives these fucking Giovanni and La Sombra somebody to deal with in their own party. And not just, oh shit, I just ran into this guy in Chinatown kind of situation.
Well, and that's why, I put for the background that he was part of the New Promise, because that would give an explanation for him to be interacting with.
Oh, I've been working on your flaws, dude. Yeah. I have been. I've been working on your flaws, man. You're the only one who I've actually gotten your flaws down for.
I'm gonna say with since we're talking with storytelling, I found, and I actually kind of liked this, what you're doing with that your merits and flaws are being assigned based on your backstory.
Yes,
I really like that idea, because a lot of times, or at least I'm finding that sometimes there's not much thought put into the role play aspects of merits and flaws. People are, they're looking for, it's like picking a feat in D&D. They're looking for merits that are going to give them bonuses on stuff that they want to use a lot, and they're looking for flaws that they probably won't ever have to deal with. And I was like, no, we can't do that. And I'm going to be honest, I got that concept from some of the folks over at the OWG group. I was like, here's what I want. I want something new and unusual. I want some way to pick merits and flaws without, them picking their own. And that was what they came up with, and I was like, oh, hell yes! That is awesome! I said, I'm going to dick these people over like nobody's business, but I'm not going to do it in such a way that's going to make the character unplayable. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, and so for myself as a storyteller, how I've dealt with the people that don't seem to put much thought in merits and flaws is... if you give me a character with a flaw, you're basically telling me I have to incorporate this into the game. It's not going to be just ignored. Exactly. So like for instance, if you have like a whole bunch of people that takes vulnerability to silver because they're like, oh, not a big deal. Well, Blade's a pretty popular movie. Wow, I guess most of the vampire hunters you encounter are going to think to have silver weapons because that kills vampires in Blade. So obviously this is, like there's ways that you can take work and incorporate in. Some of the really tricky ones that don't have a lot of impact, it can be, like cannot cross running water. It's like, so how the hell do I try to fit that into... But that's Seamishake. But silver, unless you're playing a lupine, it's only the La Sombra that have an issue. No, those are flaws anybody can take. They're what? Silver... Vulnerability to silver and can't cross running water. But that's a secondary clan flaw for La Sombra. I've never even heard that. You're fucking high, dude. You cannot believe that. Is that a first edition thing? It might be, but I don't think so. It's clan novel. I've never heard. It's clan novel canon. I've never heard of a secondary clan flaw. It's a flaw that anybody can take in the player's That's guide crazy. From second edition and revised and V20 and BNS and outside of La Sombra, the lupines are the only ones that I knew that had a vulnerability to silver. Well, now, all of the rest of the kindred have issues with fire, and that's a standard. Sorry, I missed that. What about fire? Any other kindred, including La Sombra, have issue with fire. Well, yeah, all kindred have issue with fire. Yeah, but just La Sombra are the only ones who have an issue, as far as I know, with silver. Well, but that's not a standard clan flaw. That's just that's an optional flaw any character of any clan can take. That's crazy. How did I not know that? Yeah. Well, there you go. Now you know. Please don't give me vulnerability to silver. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You're quite Jin. That wouldn't go well. I was going to dick with Jaren and his wife about the silver. But, okay. Thank you. So in the novels, it lists it as a secondary flaw. It's a secondary flaw, yeah. It's a secondary clan flaw. Matter of fact, it's even mentioned as part of the canon in Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, the computer game. Is that it's a big issue. One of the you have to climb the clock tower in Prague, in Venice, or not Venice, Austria, and you wind up having to deal with a guy whose issue is he's La Sombra, and he's laying on this cross of silver, and he was like, kill me now, and that's part of the thing, is that you can get humanity if you refuse to kill him.
or open the sunlight on him, but he's been laying on a cross of silver because that's an issue with La Sombra specifically. Yeah.
Or just his family tree?
No, it's one of those La Sombra issues, man. I'm about to look it up just for shits and giggles.
Go right ahead, because New Wave also is with me. Says they'd never heard it being specifically La Sombra.
Wait a minute, hold up. Okay, yeah, Semiche is one of the issues with crossing running water. That's the secondary clan discipline, or secondary clan vulnerability. And
what do you mean by secondary clan flaws? Like, I've never heard this.
There are. There's some. I guess they added them for the clan novels. Maybe.
It's just.
But most of that shit is still canon, so I'm gonna go with it.
Still canon, but it doesn't show up in any of the rules books. How could it be canon?
But no, okay, here's the thing. A lot of the folks that did write stuff post clan novel stuff, as far as grouping, or how should I put this?
You show me the rule book. And
I'm about to show you that. Hold on.
That says that there's secondary clan flaws, and we'll believe you. Yeah, New Wave also thinks it's a first edition thing. We think you're smoking something.
That could also be the case. I'm just saying. I'm not gonna. I am not gonna have a problem with that. Okay, VER. Okay, vulnerability to silver. Let's start with that one. Okay, since we're talking about bullshit. Okay, I'm going to go back the other direction with this, because that's entirely too many responses for one particular grouping. But yeah, no, it was like I said, Semiche, their primary clan flaw is that they have to sleep where? On homeland from their
two handfuls of dirt.
Yes. And their secondary clan flaw was not being able to cross running water.
Where are you reading this?
It's part of the clan novels, dude.
No, but where are you reading this?
The clan novels,
You're
dude.
saying it like you're reading it.
No, I'm just going back on memory, but my point is... No.
Or what about the Shimise bloodline that they actually have to sleep buried in the ground? It doesn't have to be from...
No, that's old school, dude. That's really old.
No, that's Laban. That's the Shimise Laban legacy. They have to be burrowed in the ground. And they're like, if they ever encounter a gangrel from outside of Africa, they would be very excited to learn Protean.
Yeah, because of the earth melt. I get that part. But
right? That would be so handy, but it doesn't exist as a known discipline ability in the Ebony Kingdoms, so they have to like physically bury themselves.
Huh. Hold on. No, keep going, dude. Keep going.
And we'll have to ask some higher up. We'll ask Mark.
Yeah, right. Speaking of which, Stu, man, that fucking killed me. Anytime any one of the old school guys dies, I really have issue.
Yeah, Steve Weeke.
Stu. Yeah. I really feel bad about that, especially because he's younger than I am, and to die, that early over some stupid shit, just a general bullshit kind of situation. And I've had a number of folks die on me recently, including a fellow that was a decade younger than I was who died of a heart attack. I'm not talking about Stu. I'm talking about a friend of mine, Russell. And I was like, geez, you guys really want to make me feel this old? I mean, seriously. And so we get the point where we find out how mortal we really are when folks who we've really, we know about these guys. We've known about these guys for decades now. And then all of a sudden they just drop dead on us, man. And I feel bad for his family. I really do. So it's much more of a, New Wave saw that too. And I'm like, Stu, man. I'm hoping that the guys, and this is just my own personal benefit here, is that the Stu in, what we do in the shadows had something to do with Stu. Because there's a lot of that movie that shows up in White Wolf, or vice versa, I should say. So I'm hoping that his family is doing okay, and that his what's the term for it, Jacob? What he did will live on for...
His legacy.
Legacy, thank you. Will live on for a long time to come. I truly do. I miss that I didn't get to meet all the old school White Wolf guys. I truly do. But eventually I will. At least the surviving ones. We're still waiting for our other guest. He's so not ready with us yet.
That's fine.
I'm about to check on him.
You're gonna check on him? Check his pulse?
Yeah, I'm throwing him a how you doing and seeing how he works out. But yeah, no. We'll keep the. We haven't gotten around to the Simiche. And it probably should have come up during the La Sombra episode about the whole silver thing. And I think I did mention it.
Real thing.
No, fuck you, dude. I think I did mention it during the La Sombra episode. But I'm pretty sure I missed it. Okay, he's logging in now. Holy shit! I can actually go to the bathroom here as soon as he comes on. Sorry, the vodka's really going through me again. I love my vodka, I really do. Jacob?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, so some people need to come online.
I didn't really have anything to add to your...
Okay, no, something else happened, dude. So. It was like, holy shit, I think I just lost my goddamn co-host.
Okay, so New Wave. So with respects to she has a question about does Shimi say, does the earth they need to sleep in during the day have to be from the land they were born in as immortal or the land they were embraced in? Okay, so for Shimise who need 2 hands of grave dirt, it can be either. They say that there's no real rhyme or reason. Sometimes it's the land that they were born from. Sometimes it's the land they were embraced in. I would say that if they were embraced far from home, there's probably a better chance that it would be what they were embraced in, or at least the PCs and NPCs that survive long enough to encounter probably would be the dirt near where they were embraced in. But that could be a very interesting situation if you're playing a Chronicle from your embrace, where you're an immigrant in the United States and you get shovel-headed, and all of a sudden you've got to travel back to wherever you came from to get your dirt. Would really suck.
I was under the impression.
I don't know.
I was under the impression that it was the first dirt that you were laid down in when after the embrace.
And that, yeah, like I said, that could be my impression. I would have to look up to double check.
Now.
Oh, there's Eric. Holy shit, dude. Thank you. Thank you. I can go to the bathroom. Everybody say hi to Eric. He's going to be here. He's here for our Storyteller episode, and those of us who have really gotten involved. Here's what I want to know, Eric. Haven't you heard about the La Sombra being specifically more of an issue with Silver than in any of the other clans?
With Silver?
Silver.
There's not a thing about them being allergic to it or anything. They just can't.
Yeah, see, that's fucking stupid. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
We'll laugh about you where you're going.
Right? I'll still be able to hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even better then. So he was under the impression, apparently from the clan novels, that Shinichi can't cross running water and La Sombra have a secondary clan weakness that they are vulnerable to Silver.
No, those are flaws.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's very insistent, though. I'm just checking the wiki here, Peter, in case you're curious. I do not see anything about Silver susceptibility at all. So,
yeah, that's wrong.
No, bullshit! It's a lie!
You know what? They don't reflect off of Silver. Maybe that's what Peter was thinking of.
Could be. I mean,
yeah.
That's a fucking lie! I don't want to hear it!
the internet just lies.
Yes! Don't believe any of that bullshit! I'm sorry. I know it was brought up. I guess it's a combination of the clan novels and Redemption. But yeah, and those were the two issues. This is why we have this show, guys, is to talk about shit like this. And New Wave says, I told you. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And weakness, right?
Yeah. So how are you doing tonight, Eric? I figure we should catch up with you a little bit.
I'm doing all right. I'm about to. I threw my router, so.
Really? Did you just throw it out the window, or?
I was tempted to, but I just kind of kicked it a little bit.
I know, right? When they go wrong, you just want to fucking hurt them.
It was not my bidding correctly.
No, I feel you, dude. I do. I feel you on this. Because routers, man, when they go bad, you just want to hurt them.
Yeah.
So,
there's a Misi clan weakness. It specifically says, whenever Zamisi sleeps, she must surround herself with at least 2 handfuls of earth to make a place important to her as a mortal.
Oh.
Perhaps birthplace or the graveyard where she underwent her creation.
So yeah, I was right. It could be either. Wow, I'm 2 for 2. This is a good night.
Well, here's the thing: is that those are just like examples.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Oh yeah, it could be important. So.
Right.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because I mean, it gives you a lot more wiggle room. No.
By the way, have you got your Giovanni ready for this game?
Oh. No.
I still haven't gotten a copy of it yet.
Ah. Well, thanks.
So what I find really interesting about that point, Eric, which I'm glad you pointed out, is so it's something that could be important to you as a mortal. So what if it's the graveyard where you had to bury your child? So it's not your birthplace and it's not where you were embraced, but that would be really interesting, especially for Shimise, you're playing Sabad. So you've always going to have that nagging tie to your humanity. No matter how hard you try to burn it away, you will never be able to fully get away from that tiny little sliver of your humanity, that reminder of who you once were. That is fantastic.
Well, don't Samisha have the lowest of the humanity scores, early on?
They're whatever. I mean, whenever
because of them being fiends. That's just my idea.
Yeah, it's really, when you're talking about the Sabbat, they try to put all of their guys through the grinder so that they have a low humanity as soon as possible. You can't have soldiers wincing at the idea
exactly
of casualties, right?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
So anyway, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, in the show you missed was that you motherfuckers gonna have a hard time feeding this, did you? You might want to think about that.
Full of rituals, man. No biggie.
There you go. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, was like your trip into Stygia is going to be towards the end of the Chronicle, because that's going to be really hard. It really is. I mean, I'm making this more about the path to get there more than the actual being there kind of thing.
No.
So Eric, regale us with some tips and tricks that you do as a storyteller.
Please
do. What sort of things do you find kind of helps you in any part of the process? Let's go very generic, and then we can pick around and start covering off specifics later.
Well, honestly, no matter what I'm doing, I always think of what the players are playing first. And what they want to do. So usually, like, the first session is when I kind of get a feel for how everybody wants the game to go.
Yeah, but it never goes that way.
Oh, of course it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So, sure, I could spend like 4 days, creating this big old elaborate thing. But I know after many years that the minute I put a player in front of it...
I said that! I said none of your chronicling survives adding characters.
It's kind of like scientific observation, You can't disrupting the environment there. Oh. But, so what I normally do whenever I prepare, especially for Vampire or any other White Wolf game, is that, I come up with like a bare bones structure. Like, okay, this is the guy they're going to meet. This is this dude who's in charge of this, And then I kind of just let the players really guide the story as to where it goes. Let's say, they want to visit the Nosferatu, and then they cruise down in the sewers, and I gotta create a guy real quick. I've usually got like a little library of guys already made, or I just honestly just make some shit up.
Somebody posted an NPC creation doohickey.
There's a bunch of different.
The other day,
I didn't click on it, but yeah, I did see that.
No, I did. I downloaded it, man. That's fucking awesome, dude. There's some really cool shit there. There really is.
One of the biggest things I found is that, especially with storytelling games, like everything White Wolf does, is that almost like, as long as you have like a base personality for each person the character is going to interact with, for the most part, you don't really need to create a bunch of character sheets.
No, you don't.
Like, yeah, let's just wanting to do this to players, and they do, You just don't have to create like a huge dice pool. You can just gauge it on the power level of the guys you're playing with, and it becomes really cool, like almost, at least when I run a really symbiotic thing. And then LARP is a completely different.
Yeah, we talked about that one a little bit earlier. It's like LARP is actually harder to do that because of the creation of the NPC. It has to be a bit more detailed.
A bit, or unfortunately, there's not a lot of people like me who can switch from characters pretty rapidly, like almost like Superman going into a closet kind of crap.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I always do in LARP, and try to do as much as possible, is kind of create a couple of NPCs for that night, or you know, whatever we're doing. And honestly, man, running LARP is like feeding fish. You know, you drop a little bit of something at somebody, and the next thing you know, like,
and then the top of the water just starts going. Yeah.
Or maybe piranha. All right, you know.
Yeah.
You know, or you make a character so absolutely annoying, everybody wants to kill it.
Yes.
Try to maneuver how to kill that guy in Elysium who's so incredibly obnoxious.
Yeah, but he turns out to be a fucking 6th generation crazy person.
Run a lot of different LARPs. You know, I ran Sabat, I've run Anarchs, and I've run a mix of all three. You know, of the little sects there, and Requiem, and all the new stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, it's two completely different styles because on one end, you know, you're sitting around a table with a bunch of your buddies eating chips and everything else, and you know, it's a good, you know, it's a good solid amount of fun. At the same time, with LARP, you want to avoid that. You know, you want to completely avoid role playing around a table, you know, playing rock paper scissors. You know.
Yeah. So, and like I've said before, I think this rock paper scissors bullshit as far as the, you know, working out combat, etc. is crap. It's carry around dice. It ain't like they're hard to carry around.
You know, it speeds it up a little bit, to be honest. But even though I did fish on one of the Facebook groups, the BNS Facebook group, I think, or the anyway, about help in trying to make combat go a little bit smoother, just because that's probably the area that I'm least comfortable with rules-wise for storytelling. But Eric, I would like to hear more about your suggestions or what you do to try to prevent that tabletop mentality. How do you try to keep or work to get clicks to open up a little bit, branch out a little bit, where it's, you know, so the four buddies who normally be playing this around a table together, how do you get them to maybe try to branch out and interact with other people instead of being like a D&D adventuring party with everything they do? Like, you know, what suggestions do you have for that?
First thing is, as a storyteller, is disruptive.
Right.
Walk with whatever character you have, grab it, you know, put your big boy panties on, and honestly, I've always found that the more that you can just, if you're into what you're doing, everybody else seems to fall in line. And even if you can find one or two other people that are just as good at that, any chance you can get to disrupt any little click that you see is another kind of factor when you're storytelling a LARP. Like, let's say all the Malkavians or something like that don't feel like, you know, they need to participate with everybody and they're just sitting around, you know, playing poker. Well, I happen to have a Giovanni in my back pocket who's going to walk over and, you know, start making the table float. I'm bored. But you know, and then you interact with those characters, and the more you interact with people, the more they kind of pick up on what's going on. And also, if you don't let people drop character, that helps too.
Oh.
Yes, that I think is the real challenge, especially with new players, to get them to cut the
never drop character. Yeah, I like that.
I usually have a rule type thing where it's like, you get together at the beginning of the game, and maybe 2 minutes going over stuff, and then I say, you know what? There's the other room. take a few fields, you need to get into character, and once you enter this room, you have to leave to be out of character. And
none of this crossing your fucking fingers bullshit. You're in the room, you're...
I mean, I was also, I was getting a little nostalgic. I was reading through the Masquerade 2nd edition rules and all that stuff, and thinking about a bunch of different ways, because, I mean, I've got a lot of actors here that want to actually play Lark.
Oh, right? No doubt, right? Those guys would be great.
That originally started in Austin. We were a bunch of guys that were doing acting or mostly Rocky Horror, which how we knew each other.
Yeah, but even so, man, those guys would be wonderful in LARP, man. Even as NPCs, they'd be great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So it's like, we started off really small, maybe 7 people at most, and then it just kind of grows from there. And one thing that I always, I guess, thought was really weird is that, mostly all the rules are for LARP, period. It's supposed to cover things you can't do in real life. I'm not really going to walk up and hit my friend in the face.
No, you don't have to do that.
That's socially frowned upon most of the time, And
yeah, but you can take a swing without actually hitting somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, if someone takes a swing at the... Yeah, anyway, in that hypothetical, not always, but... and I was looking over the rules, and I remembered, how... even if a combat broke out, it took 5 minutes. And, it was just like, okay, I win, you win, take some damage, it's all cool.
Yeah.
The more rules they started throwing into it, the more complicated it became.
That's why I like the Norse rules. I'm going to be honest. I was like, okay, you can swing at a guy without actually hitting him and still have it come across as I just took a swing and decked you and you're on your ass.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can do stage combat all day. I mean, sometimes, if you got a good enough dude with you, you can stage like a brawl in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of stuff, there's all kinds of different things that you can do in a LARP, and even in a tabletop, but I mean, I will say that LARP...
Well, less so in a tabletop, but yeah.
There's a lot of people that get bogged down in rules, and I think that's, for LARP, it actually detracts a lot from things. Basically, if the situation, let's say in a Camarilla game, if any situation boils down to, all the players are trying to kill everybody, or each other, and they're not even doing it stylishly, they're just ganging up on somebody. It's like, you think of in-game ways to take away from that sort of behavior. Make sure that there's consequences for everything that happens. The characters don't live in a bubble. Everything else happens around it. Let's say Joe Bruja gets all uppity, right, and just stomps around and acts like a dick. Well, let's say my little venture or whatever the NPC I have going on goes ahead and talks to his police, people, and they arrest him. So he's got to, that guy's then faced with the quandary of, well, do I get arrested or do I, so and it creates a lot of conflict and stuff like that. So you can always take, elements outside of it. Honestly, mess with the players all the time.
All the time.
You don't have to stomp on them in order to, for them to have a good time. And that's
no. But they find the game a bit more engaging if you fuck with them.
Oh yeah, and you don't always have to use combat. You can.
Now, combat is the least of the issues at that point. If you can actually go about your, progressing the storyline just by throwing some random NPC who is not a combat situation, but just some weird guy, that will definitely make the game a bit more engaging.
Well, one thing that I did for a long time is my buddy created this really annoying character. It's his name was Lark the Sweet. Art the Sweet was a little person with a baseball bat.
I love him already. I'm sorry, but I love him already.
And that was all. And that was all the guy had. You know.
I drink and I know things.
When things were getting stale or somebody was just being a jerk, this little guy would come out of nowhere, hit somebody on the knees with a baseball bat, and then run away saying, "I'm sweet."
I love it. It's awesome.
There were so many fan hunts for Lark the Sweet, and nobody could get the concept that you're never going to find it.
Nope. Nope.
And it wasn't having power or anything else. It was just, that was our thing for, like, you're being a douche. Stop.
No, I'm sorry. No, we're going to fuck with you all night long.
And they're buying like a hunting party for Lark the Sweet, And
yeah. Never find him, though.
I don't know what clan he is. You don't know what he's doing. He's just beating people with a bat and running off.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what you can do with celerity, yo.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at other things, because, I mean, I LARP werewolf, and I had a lot of fun with that, because what I did is I created a completely social character. And one thing I found is that people aren't always prepared for that. If you create somebody, I mean, for instance, like one situation was that there were like a whole bunch of like, big buff, guys beating things up, right? And we come across, whatever the monster, the storyteller had us, going up against. And I walked up, and I put on a Bane skin. And I told him that, there's something else going on over there. Why don't you go check that out? The worm says this. And it ran off. And then they all got pissed. They lost all this glory, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, but you're alive. And then
right? You're still with us.
And then I stare each of them down. And that's a social challenge, right? And I'm overbidding, or, whatever else was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then people kind of got the idea of how to be social, even with the most visceral of characters. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Actually, I'm actually planning to use a lot of what we talk about tonight in the show, in the new game, and you, my friend, have got a lot of really good ideas.
I've also got a bunch of really bad ones. I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? That's perfect. We should talk about bad ideas.
Let's talk about bad ideas. Seriously, yeah. Please do. If you've got bad ideas, please bring those up, because we don't want anybody fucking up. If we can help folks make their games better, and without having to fall in the pit trap of the stupid shit that has happened before, please help.
The first thing, the biggest thing is to, with LARP, all the personal stuff ends up coming in sometimes. And a lot of times that gets...
Oh, jeez.
I can't count the many, times I've had to stop.
No, Brother Jacobs had way too much of that bullshit going on.
But, gosh, I'm trying to think of mistakes that you just forget about. I've made a lot of mistakes in tabletop, I'll tell you that much. Where it's like, these guys just wiped everything out really quickly. What happened? Oh, that's right. These dots are supposed to be here. Oh, okay. And then it's a rules flood. But the biggest mistakes I've ever made are rules calls. Because especially, well, like I said, I mean, I hate to go back to LARP all the time, but I mean, that's just a big animal. You know, it's a big, hard thing.
Yeah, that is the tallest elephant in the trough. I'm just saying.
And like rules calls, I mean, a lot of times you have to make a call on the spot. You don't have enough time to go grab a book, or, you know. And the biggest rule I've always implemented is you don't argue with storytellers. You
never argue with the ST, dude, because it's never going to end well for you.
You know, I have had to ask people to leave because of that story.
That's right.
It sucks, but it's better than having a big brawl in front of everyone.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, yeah, a lot of times you're asked to make a split-second decision, and a lot of times you have to make it, and even if it's freaking wrong,
it's still the decision.
Right, and then afterwards you read it and you're like, well, I was completely wrong.
Completely out of, yeah.
You know, then you have to kind of follow pro and kind of say, no, hey, I screwed that up. And,
but you know what? You got to be able to admit, hey, I screwed up.
What he said.
I made a mistake, right? Like, it's better than not.
No, and it's a good storyteller who can actually admit their fault. Say, oops, I fucked up. All right, how can we fix this? As opposed to, but you don't deal with it at the moment. You deal with it after.
Yeah, you don't ever, you do your best to not interrupt the flow of everything.
Exactly.
You're really distracted. So, yeah, another mistake was like playing that Changeling game.
Fucking Changeling. God, I hate fairies.
Why was it a mistake to play a Changeling game?
I hate Fae. I do. Even after all the shows we've done, I really don't like that particular line.
Because I took the concept of an unseelie satyr a bit too far. And it was the first time the LARP came out, and I was asked to stop.
Okay. Yeah, no, I feel it. No, I feel you, dude.
Then afterwards, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that was hilarious, but... should have kept my pants on in that situation.
No, listen. See, that's the other thing. Here's my point, and I'm talking about 45 plus years of game mastering in general, storytelling as far as White Wolf is concerned, is you never admit fault at the time. You always say, oops, I fucked up later. And you deal with the situation later. But as New Wave just said, you don't talk about it at the table. You just keep going until the game is over, and then you discuss, oops, I fucked up. And deal with it. But you really destroy the flow of the game if you start dealing with that crap in the middle of the game.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Also, try your best not to sleep around with your group.
Yeah, well, there's always that.
Yeah, they tell you that at work too.
Yes. Never fuck with your players, man. Fuck your players, never mind, whatever. But no, New Wave, any change in the game. I have issues with all the fucking Fae, man. I do. I don't understand what the hell they were smoking when they came up with that concept. But yeah. I just don't get it. I don't. Even though I love Victor to death and he loves the game, and I have tried to feel more of the whole Changeling vibe, but I just don't get it.
It's D&D with a different system. It's angst-like.
Well, there's way too much angst. even from folks that have played Vampire for years, there's way too much angst in Changeling.
I had the exact opposite experience, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I mean, we played around with the system many times, and we just couldn't keep it going. We just couldn't take it horribly seriously. And even when we tried to, it was just not fun. I mean, honestly, yeah. My particular group ran into. Everybody else is different. Everybody likes different stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
and Lord forbid I should ever try and, poo-poo on your particular system.
Yeah, I mean, I also had a lot more fun LARPing than the second, Changeling, the Dreaming, was a lot more fun. Because it was the way it was supposed to be, in my opinion. I mean, fairies were dark. I mean, it was, you have every part of the spectrum in that game. And I think they just needed to do a lot more development. But then again, there's a lot of people that really dig it. So
yeah, Victor, he loves his Changeling, man.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. But hey, if people are having fun and nobody else, if that's all they'll play, they're right. I'll run it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna throw this one out to New Wave. Why is it that you like Changeling the Lost? And in addition to that question is, what was it about the storyteller for that particular chronicle that made you enjoy it as much as you do? So, moving on, and we'll come back to New Wave here on when he responds to that. But I mean, honestly, y'all, I just don't get it. I don't understand. And I still don't understand Werewolf, just to be honest. I understand that folks enjoy it, and that they enjoy it a lot. But I just don't get, what is it about the Teeth and Claws role-playing that you find the most interesting? And what is it about the storyteller? That was my next segue to this was, what about the storyteller for that particular game that made it as enjoyable as it does? Jake?
Sorry, can we repeat the question?
I said, what is it about Werewolf, and what is it about the Werewolf storyteller for that particular chronicle that you were playing in that made you enjoy it as much as you do?
I don't think there was anything with the storyteller specifically. I kind of like, to me, Werewolf, some of the themes in Werewolf are the same reason why I like the Sabbat. It's the whole...
There's a lot of commonalities there, yeah.
The world's on fire, and we're going
to dance.
Swinging.
Yeah.
And we're going down swinging. And I like that, because even at some level, neither of them expect to actually win the fight either. Like, the Sabbat kinda thinks they might win, and the werewolves hope they win, but deep down, they know they're losing. They know they're fighting.
Oh yeah, they know they're
insurmountable odds, and they're still willing to do something about it. And just that level of conviction, and that just kind of speaks to me on a primal level. So
okay.
I can't say that I've really played enough Werewolf where I could pick out anything specific that a storyteller has done that just kind of went, wow, that was awesome, kind of a thing. So
okay, I get that. No, Eric, you got anything to add?
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I've come across a lot of really good werewolf, storytellers. I didn't do a lot of storytelling of it myself, but I did a lot of playing. That's a game I really like to play.
You do?
To run.
Why so?
Huh?
Why so?
I don't know. I really enjoy a lot more political conniving. For me, I always find.
Wait a minute, you mean there's more jihad going on in werewolf than in vampire?
Oh yeah, it's just as bad. Except now you're 6 feet tall and full of fangs.
Yeah, the claws and teeth. Yeah, I get that.
You don't know if your buddy here is gonna go all out, balls out on you, during a fight because he can't control himself. It's
frenzy.
It's that conflict between people. I think is a lot of what really gets down to the core of anything really with these different games is you're dealing with a horrific kind of situation in each one. I mean, Wake of the Vampire, or you're just sitting there chilling in high school and suddenly you grow hair on your palms and freak out. And,
and then you start dunking basketballs. Yeah, I get that.
Oh,
sorry, I had to go there, dude.
For the win. It's that concept of you're suddenly ripped out of whatever life you thought you had, and then you're thrust into some. I mean, honestly, if you think about werewolf, it's even more cutthroat and visceral, and it's not about. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you just can't talk your way out of.
No, not really. No, yeah, I get that.
The Sept Alpha is the alpha for a reason, and if you kind of, as a storyteller, if you do those positions a disservice by just having them be the guy who will sweep in and beat the worm creature, I always found that with werewolf, I always had a lot of fun with a more hidden thing going on, especially with I love using pen text, man.
That seems to have come up recently quite a bit.
Because,
the whole pen text thing.
It's you don't know if you're walking down the street and some kid drinks a soda and the next thing you know he's trying to rip your throat out. Because suddenly, he's a Fomori and he knows what you are, So, I mean, it's stuff like that always, I think, makes things a bit more interesting than, okay, you guys have the big Nexus crawler coming to kill you. And me, I'm I run, I don't want to mess with that, but my character, let's say I'm playing a Shadow Lord, I actually like those, it's really cool.
Right.
Well, I mean, of a Sombra, but
I'm actually pretty fond of the Glasswalkers myself, but that's just me.
But I mean, there's a bunch of different types of things that you can do, and every now and then, I mean, yeah, sure, I love a good combat. I just really
want to stand toe to toe with whatever could fuck you over, and you do with it.
And one thing I always found was important is and one of the hardest things to handle, honestly, is character death.
We mentioned that earlier before you jumped on, is about folks being a bit more attached to their LARP characters than they are their tabletop characters.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you've gone out, you've gotten costuming, you've done a bunch of work into it, and then suddenly, with a hair up their ass and just waste you,
Yeah, fuck you, New Wave, and your Shadow Lords. Sorry. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Go ahead.
That goes around, what you want to do as a group, and that was a big problem that a lot of us had, especially around here with just larger characters or whatever, just annihilating people for no reason, other than we're bored, let's make a kill box. And it was come on, guys, really, can't we do something different? But yeah. But the biggest thing about character death is that if it's memorable,
both storyteller and the player, if you work with them, they're like, okay, I mean, yeah, you know this guy's going to die, okay? But you always give them the opportunity to tell you how to go out before you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
In LARP, if you're like, look, you're toast. So what do you want to ask the moment to be? And then if you let them act out, man, they're cool. You can have a guy who you think is going to totally throw a fit, and he'll get really into how he's going to die back in the and then
pull a whistler.
You know, like my final blow to everybody is, I turn into ash, but my middle finger stays up. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna go with here we go. We gotta go with the response that I requested from New Wave on this one. He says, I just like how it's a lot more darker, not in the grim sense, than Dreaming, but still has the messed up fantasy theme that deep down can be quite sad and traumatic. He says something about that really speaks to me, I guess. Something like fairies that are meant to be whimsical and childish turn out to be super fucked up and nightmarish. That just sounds great to play. And I have to agree with him, man. I really do. I'm all about that. That actually is good for me. I can do that. But 9 times out of 10, that is not the way Changeling works out. And I just...
Lost. They're talking about the Chronicles of Darkness version of Changeling, not the old World of Darkness.
What's the
Lost?
The Lost, yeah.
Darkness, yeah.
Right. The thing we don't talk about.
Yeah. It's not around Peter.
We don't discuss New World, man. We don't do it. It's not. Listen. I have been speaking to my guild members. Hold on a second. I have been speaking to my guild mates in Final Fantasy XIV Online about New World and Old World of Darkness. And it seems to be, and this is just going along with what I've seen during the show as well, is that most folks just do not like New World. They just don't. It was really bad thought out. It was horribly implemented, and it was really not a good situation in general for the particular game line.
I think you're a little biased, but I will give you that it is not. It has never reached the popularity that World of Darkness had.
And even now that they've gone back and started re-releasing new rules for the old World of Darkness, Vampire 20 and etc., and all the other ones that they're actually doing a lot of effort of getting crowdfunding for. They're not trying to get crowdfunding for fucking Vampire the Requiem. You noticed that, right?
Well, because they actually are a sustainable series that they just released a new book. Like they don't have to do crowdfunding for it. They do when they start a new line, like Beast the Primordial.
But what's the buying? What's the buying power? Here is what I'm looking at.
But it's a different ball game than it used to be. It's a totally different playing field. And this is getting totally off topic. There's lots of resources you can look up, but Onyx Path still does okay with the Chronicles of Darkness, which is why they released a second edition and why they continue to make books in that game world, because there are still quite a few people that use it and are involved with it.
And that is, I have noticed that. But I've also noticed that the most, how should I put this? The folks that they're luring back to buy the new books are from the old World of Darkness.
Well, I'm not sure I understand, but okay.
No, I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, and I'm thinking you should have noticed it at least by now. As much as you pay attention to what's going on more so than I do. And that's, I'm be honest, you're right, you do. But I've noticed there are a lot more folks that are more interested in V5 as far as just using vampire as a, for instance, situation.
That's a totally other conversation, I think. There's enough controversy on there. We'll definitely get off track here if we try to discuss that in Storyteller. Though that might not be a bad idea to either next episode or the one after to discuss the V5 with the playtest that's been out live and try.
There's been some very mixed reviews on that one, and I have paid attention. And you're absolutely right about that. But what I'm saying is the folks that are coming back for V20, specifically for Vampire, are most definitely coming from the old World of Darkness. They really just don't give a shit about Requiem at all.
That was the problem. See, it's also like, whenever new D&D comes out, or it doesn't matter what the game is. When people... I know people that have never read the damn book. Never even cracked open the first page. And they're like, oh, I don't like it. And it's like, but have you read it? No, I don't like it. And you run into that all the time. I mean, shit, even I do it. And then I go back and look at it, I'm like, hey, this is all right. But yeah, that was the biggest problem. I mean, honestly, was everybody was like, hey, it's not Masquerade. You're right, it's not Masquerade. And in all honesty, the system is quicker. Even the LARP system works a lot better. You don't have a big meta game where basically the game boils down to superheroes with fangs. And that's what Masquerade became.
Katanas and trench coats.
From a game of personal horror to a game of who's got the coolest powers. And I think that, in my opinion, that's really great. All the games you just went
Okay, you broke up, dude. Repeat, please.
There's no big meta plot in Requiem.
There's no Gehenna there.
Exactly.
Just to use,
The thing is that what happened, in my opinion, with Masquerade, and the biggest reason it just needed to go and end, was because it was boiling down to being superheroes with fangs.
Katanas and trench coats.
Exactly. It from being about what does it mean to be a monster, even and to hold on to what you have, which is very personal and visceral and real experience, to okay, I've got 5 dots in this, I can kick your ass. And it was a lot of that D&D mentality, and nothing wrong with D&D, trust me.
No problem. No, we're not trusting D&D, because without them, we would not have World of Darkness, I'm just saying.
What I was saying was that the mentality of we're going to bust down the door and beat the monster became a big thing. And it became less about the story or what powers or rules you had.
It's more about I am the monster than beating down the door, defeating the monster.
It's that if you honestly take a good look at the setting and everything else for Requiem, I mean, it's different than Masquerade. I love both games a whole hell of a lot, and especially coming from storytelling, Requiem and a Requiem LARP for like almost 4 or 5 years. It had a bigger sustainability, honestly. And if enough people would actually get off their ass and try it, White Wolf would have survived long. There's always going to be a bit of reluctance, in no matter what, whenever you make changes. And it's going to be the same thing whenever V5 comes out.
Mm-hmm. There's issues already.
My little pet thing is not the same. Oh, my little, and you just, if you have that mentality, fine, but don't fuck it up for everybody else.
You know?
Yeah.
I can just say, hey, I don't like it. If you can give a valid reason for it, I'm like, cool, go for it. That's a good reason.
Play what you want to play, man. That's all I got.
Maybe I should take a look at that. And especially as a storyteller, if one thing you really got to listen to a lot is what exactly your players are complaining about. Because you always find out that there's always a lot of quiet people that might have a problem with something, or they might have not be able to grasp a concept, and a lot of times, the loudest complaints are usually the ones that can be swatted down easiest. Mostly, I mean, just because of any social situation like that. But I always found that the players' complaints help me guide a game much more than what they like. I mean, it's really easy to figure out what players like. Really easy. And then when you come across that awkward moment where you've just done, you did something and it's like you just stepped in a big pile of shit.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking at you, and you're like, and trying to figure out a way out of it, And then, but if you figure out what the beef is, one, you know how to avoid it, and two, you know how to tailor things towards more things that your players like. And honestly, what it all boils down to is everybody's there to have fun. And if you're not having fun,
then why bother?
Exactly. And me as a storyteller, I mean, things always get to a point at some time where I'm like, look, I'm not having fun running this right now. Somebody else take over, or I think I'm done.
That's the end of a chronicle right there. I'm just saying, if the actual original storyteller is done, then you're done.
Well, the other thing is that, honestly, stories have a beginning and an end.
Beginning, middle, and end. But
I mean, the middle journey. But a lot of times, there's a lot of storytellers and other people that just don't make an end, And I always found that, if you've been doing something long enough, it's always got to come to an end at some point. And because, I mean, on one, the system isn't really sustainable for a whole crap load of XP and everything else. I mean, there's only so many dots you can fill out.
Right.
And secondly, you can give a good ending to a chronicle, like a really good thing. Like let's say, you're doing a Camarilla chronicle, and the ending to your Camarilla chronicle is the city being overrun by the Sabbat. That gives everybody a good ending to their characters. Whether they go off and
out in a blaze of glory or in a whimper, yeah.
The same thing with the Sabbat Chronicle. There's some messed up elder that's actually manipulating everything, and they're not going to take it. So there's all kinds of ways that you can make that ending memorable. And I always find that people get a lot of satisfaction from that, and then they're all excited to roll up their next characters.
Awesome.
Because everybody's got a ton of ideas that a lot of times they don't get to explore because nobody ends them.
Exactly. Jacob.
Yeah, I think ending a chronicle or deciding when to end a story
that's hard.
Important.
That really is hard.
I think it's important. I think it's important, though, to have an idea on how long or when it's going to end. I'll admit I have not always done that as a storyteller, because sometimes I think I just kind of worry between, just from personal experience with my tabletop group, that a game's just going to end. Like, you'll have people stop showing up, schedules will change, and you won't necessarily get to that end game. But it's a good idea to kind of have, at least in your head, like a prelude to the game, but also in your head where you think the end might be, so that if you can see, like to Eric's point, if you can see that players are starting to get a little bit bored with it, maybe now, well, let's end it then. So let's end the game in an exciting manner where everyone's having fun, instead of waiting for half the people to stop showing up because they just kind of got bored with it. Let's, end it on a high note. Supernatural season 5 or season 13? Which
exactly, yeah.
Where do you want to end the story, right? I say that half in jest because I'm a big Supernatural fan, but you know what I mean?
I've noticed that.
There's a point where you can go out in a blaze of glory, or you can
whimper.
keep the story going for as long as you can at least get 3 people to show up for game night, and and people are like, "Wow, you're still playing that character."
Yeah, right.
You don't necessarily want that to be every campaign either. I really like your point, Eric, about listening to your players' complaints more than what they like, because they will do what they like.
Oh, and then some.
You just have to be aware so that you can avoid the things that they're going to hate, which is I think that's very good advice for any storyteller.
Most definitely. All right, we're still at 30 minutes, give or take.
I just want to hear again.
What?
I just ran to the bathroom.
Oh, I didn't.
Conversation or have anybody hear it.
But we're at about 30 minutes out. We're running a bit late tonight. Normally this would be about where we would finish, but we've still got a little bit to go, as long as our co-host and or guest can hang.
Oh, I'm good for a while.
And hang.
All right, good. Here's the thing: is I want to know about how often do you actually ad-lib? If shit goes sideways during the Chronicle, go ahead.
Say I ad-lib most of the time.
Me too. I won't be honest. I do write out my shit.
You have a plot or an NPC or two in your back pocket, and so that you got something that you can grab. But
whatever they do, you respond.
Yeah, whether it's this or D&D or riffs, like whatever it is that I really give my players a lot of rope to hang themselves.
Yes, and that's usually the case.
I will just have the setting respond to what they do. And that's how I see it. So I don't have a script any more than we have scripts when we come to do these podcasts.
Exactly.
We have an idea of what we're going to talk about tonight. We might have a question.
But it's an organic flow.
But it's an organic flow. And I find games and characters and NPCs that have an organic flow tend to have become more memorable in people's minds.
Oh yeah,
and that people will still talk about years later, because everything makes more sense, and there's not as much that's kind of forced into the situation because this is what I had planned tonight. Damn it!
Yeah, this is how it's gonna fucking happen. No, it's not.
Well, I'm storytelling on Saturday night. I spent my NPCs in my back pocket and never used them because I didn't. No, I should save them for another day.
Yep, exactly. Eric, are you feeling this or?
Well, yeah, I mean, in tabletop it's easier, but I have kind of an advantage in being an actor for so long, and honestly, I mean, in LARP, about 95%.
Yeah, it's all improv at that point.
I pull it out of my ass.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
To be honest,
I figured you'd be right there with me on this.
Yeah, I mean, there's even times when, like, I'll roll some dice and it'll suck for the player, and I'll be like, he missed.
Never mind. We got this. Oops, you dropped your fucking shotgun. Whatever. At least you didn't blow your leg off, kind of situation.
I think at times where I put up a game screen or something, and I just randomly roll some dice out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever. I'm just rolling dice.
Oh, paranoid dice.
Yeah, just to keep them on their toes. Oh, yeah, I love that.
Empire and stuff, it is such a cool thing to use because, if you got them hooked enough where they're almost on the edge of their seat, kind of thing, you're cruising with that, and then you just start rolling some dice randomly.
Mm-hmm. Make them nervous.
I love doing that kind of stuff. And then
it's so much fun.
That's the thing that I think is really important, especially in LARP, but also is really great in tabletop, is if you set atmosphere for the players. I mean, I really, this is going to sound cheesy as hell, because I mean, it just is. But
all right, go with it, man.
If I do a vampire game, in tabletop, I really like to, I've got most of the time I'm spending, honestly, isn't setting up the story, it's setting up, where we're going to play. I'll cruise around and depending on the mood, I'll light some candles, or, I'll put on some, everything, just some music to set the mood.
Yeah, I got all kinds of background music, man. I found, just to break this up for a second, is that music in general really does set the mood. And it doesn't matter whether or not the person who's listening to it likes the music. Once they listen to it, they're like, holy shit, this really works for what we're doing.
And with LARP, I always had and this is what I'm going to do with what I want to run, which I'm going to start tonight, is that we used to play in each other's houses. When we first started doing the masquerade stuff, we would play in each other's apartments, houses, whatnot, and we'd also, because it was in Austin, we had the cool advantage of 6th Street, which is a crap ton of bars and clubs.
Oh, dives, yo.
You could just go to different clubs and play. So it was really a thing that you had to blend. The masquerade was a big thing.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep it for the game effect, but you don't want to look like a fucking goof in front of everybody. And you kept it all hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, you'd be surprised at what you can do by just closing a door in your house and marking it, no entry. And everybody's going to be like, what's behind the door?
Yeah, right?
If you set a mood of let's say it's a club night, or let's say the Toreador is holding a ball of an Elysium, but it's at a nightclub. You can set up your house to be a cheesy nightclub pretty easily if they're really cheap. Put a fan in front of a light and you got a strobe light. That kind of stuff, and you always, if you set the right mood for the players, they're going to respond to it, and it's really cool experience.
Oh yeah.
Going to a well-lit university or whatever you have, and you can see everybody, but there's always that element. Even werewolf games are so much more fun to play in the park. You got got a really good like we've got metro parks here in Toledo. And those parks are basically they let them go wild, basically. And then I've also played it in campfires, with a werewolf game, and that is awesome. If you just spend the whole day, you pack a lunch, a big lunch and everything. You always have everybody chips in for drinks. You bring a cooler, and that's a lot of fun. It's really cool to hold a moot at night.
Oh yeah.
That is so sweet. And then even if you want to just tabletop it,
There's I posted it a couple of years ago in the OWD group, was that there's a company that makes candles that do like wood fire candles and sewer candles and any, all these different smells that make really good ambiance for games in general. And I've noticed quite a few of the ones that they sold would just be super awesome for, White Wolf games. Just, you'd be surprised how much a smell can actually trigger a really good ambiance as far as the game is concerned.
See, I know a lot of people with like serious perfume allergies that I'd be worried about using odors for ambiance. I'm a huge fan of incense, but I know way too many people that would get so sick if I used any kind of scents in, like for instance for my LARP. So you gotta make sure that obviously your group, and what if anybody has any issues or anything. Well, for instance, so the next month for the LARP I'm doing, the gather is being held in a Setite temple. So I put
a lot of sandalwood and
So I put a poll to find out what people's comfort zone was, since followers of Set like to push boundaries and make other people unsettled. But while the player characters could be uneasy, I didn't want to have anything that might make other people uneasy. So I actually put a list of, from PG up to NC-17 with movie examples saying what are your guys' comfort level for, like if I have, for imagery or, anything like that. I think that kind of has piqued some people's interest. I got, it looks like we're very much in R7, 8mm, 50 Shades of Grey, that zone for comfort level, so that's good. Interestingly enough, I had two people that said they were fine with NC-17 when I used I Spit on Your Grave and a Serbian film as examples. So I don't know if we should keep an eye out for those two people.
Jesus Christ. You need to watch those motherfuckers, man.
Or the fact that I was able to use those examples. Maybe I should be the one there.
Yeah, but myrrh and sandalwood would be great smells.
Yes, but
to use for a Setite temple.
You know what? I know that there are some that have music that I've played has been a problem, affected their migraines, and I'm trying to remember. I think we have at least one person who might have the perfume sensitivity. So I'll check to see if that's something we can do. But plus, it's a rented building, so I don't want to necessarily have weird smells in it for when the actual people come in.
I don't know anybody who would ever complain about those two particular smells, but yeah, I get your point.
We rent the basement of a Masonic temple, so they...
Even a Masonic temple, I would think, wouldn't have a problem with the sandalwood or myrrh.
I'll find out, I guess.
I mean, it's not like it. No, seriously, it's not like they're off-putting as far as smells go. Smelly feet. That's off-putting. But sandalwood, on the other hand, not so much. That's just me. I'm sorry.
The absolute things that happen, then you're not looking.
I guess. But Gabriel's mentioning that he's recently joined a LARP, and the thing was apparently the Elysium is held in a club, which means that you would hear a lot of EDM or dance music in general. So
what clubs do you go to that still play EDM? Dude,
you have no clue. You'd think. Granted, I haven't been in a club in a while, but even so, EDM is still relatively popular.
So you have the archaic flaw, is what you're saying?
I guess, yeah. I don't know that EDM would be considered archaic, for God's sakes. I mean, come on.
I just don't hear. I don't hear anybody refer to modern dance music as EDM, though.
Relatively speaking, and I have spent, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gay, but I've spent a few hours in gay clubs, and EDM seems to be fairly popular even today.
Why would we care if you were gay?
No, I'm not. See, you took the wrong thing. You picked the wrong thing to comment about. I'm talking about EDM, and you decided to go there. No, it has nothing to do with that.
Apparently, my local city has an annual EDM festival.
See, so, even now, they still enjoy EDM in some places. Okay, for instance, and just for shits and giggles, everybody in the channel and everybody in the conversation have seen the Techno Viking video. That's EDM. So even nowadays, EDM is still popular. It seems to be continuing to evolve, mind you. And I'm a fairly competent music listener. I still listen to shit all the time. New shit, old shit. Recently, I've become fairly hip to a group that calls themselves a man called Portugal. Or the man Portugal. Anyway, so yeah, even if it's new music, I still like it, relatively speaking. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to go there. I'm just saying that you're talking shit about EDM. I had to kind of jump to the defense thereof.
Jacob brought up another good point. Is when you're dealing with this type of subject matter, you always want to get the comfortability factor with your players. It's really important.
True.
You never know what's gonna bother somebody, and that you don't want to. I mean, you want to push the boundaries a lot, but you also want to have, respect for people, and that's a pretty important. And sometimes it's a fine line. You never quite know when you're going to cross it, but trust me, when you cross it, you know.
You'll know it happened. Yeah. I got that feeling.
Maybe we trying to live it down.
Well, okay. Some of the stuff off of music from the Succubus Club could be considered EDM, but there's some of those songs that would be very difficult for folks that have migraines to hear.
Didn't we change that subject already?
No, we were talking about stuff that could be a trigger issue for various players. And I was saying that even old school vampire stuff could still trigger issues in modern players. And there are a lot of music that normally when I go with background music for my games, now granted I found out recently that Roll20 will not allow SoundCloud to be used anymore during the game, so you got to use whatever they have available in their little music player, and that bothers me a little bit. But I was always very cognizant of the fact that you can't play just everything. You got to play, even when you're trying to go for ambiance, you have to come up with something that your folks can tolerate, like Eric mentioned. And there's some stuff there that I have that probably would not go over as well as other things. Now granted, I don't use music from the Succubus Club stuff much anymore, at least not as much as Justin does. You were going to say something.
I think Eric was also kind of segueing into subject matter too, because unless I was the one that was totally on the wrong page, but with the fact that we're dealing with World of Darkness and a lot of dark, mature themes, and to make sure that there's an even balance where your characters are going through shit, but the players aren't.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a huge responsibility as a storyteller. And like Eric said, sometimes you don't even realize if you've crossed a line until it's already crossed, and then you just have to be responsible and do damage control.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel you. I feel you there. And you're right. 9 times out of 10, you don't know until you fucking cross the line.
Which is why, for my LARP, I thought it'd be a good idea to put a poll, then show up and have a whole bunch of stuff, and then have some people be really uncomfortable and perhaps lose players over it, right?
Yeah, but even posting a poll does not necessarily guarantee that you're not going to screw up.
No, for sure, but it at least gives me a little bit of a starting point where I know I have a better idea on what other people will find acceptable, and they know that I'm making the effort so that if I do cross a line by accident,
they can at least come to you and say...
Yes, they will be more likely to come to me and say something about it, right?
In a non-antagonistic way, which is a big deal, by the way. You know, folks that get offended over the littlest fucking thing and then come up to you with their tackles up, essentially. Yeah, I get that. And I think that you're right. It might be a good idea to poll folks prior to, but you can't automatically assume. Here's the thing. Is it that if some folks will not have an issue about a certain thing at the time they take the poll, and then when you actually get involved in the whole deal, then things become a bit too real for that individual.
But that's why there's also other things in place. I really support and like the idea of the Brems and the break and all those other things where people can't, the thumbs up okay, so that if a scene does get intense, then you instantly can get it de-escalated, right? If it's getting too much for you.
Yeah.
Because that's very important that you look after, like we were saying earlier, on how LARPs can get a lot more intensive because you're actually in the action.
Yeah, you're
But around the table is important too, to know your people's comfort zones, and that, because especially if you're playing with people who are either unfamiliar with the setting or unfamiliar with you don't really know what their expectations are for the game, and you don't really know what they're comfortable with themselves. And so you need to be able to have those kind of open dialogue conversations with your players prior to game, after game, to make sure that everybody's still having fun at the end of the day. And we can talk about other horrendous things with frenzies and, derangements and whatever, but at the end of the day, the players get that cathartic feeling from all the shit that their characters went through and aren't feeling like they themselves just went through it.
How you feeling about this, Eric? Eric? We didn't lose him, did we? Anyway, moving on for a second, we'll come back to him. Gabriel mentioned something here. It says, yeah, it's a fine line between this bothers my character a lot and this has started to bothering me as a player. It's pretty hard to talk to everyone in a setting with a lot of players.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel him. I feel him on that. And like I said, I've always tried, and like I said, I've been running games since the 70s. Longer than most of you people have been alive. And I've learned a lot then, but I don't ever assume that I have learned everything there is to know. And nowadays, with some of the folks that, you know, as he's mentioned, that sometimes you don't know what a player is going to be feeling at the time of the actual game, as opposed to prior to or post game. And I think you've covered that pretty good, Jake. I appreciate that. Thank you. Eric! You still with us, man? Damn. Oh, we've lost him. Holy shit.
We've lost him, Jim.
No, yeah, right. I'm a doctor, not a... No, he's still with us. At least as far as the actual Skype call is concerned, but...
we got to be nearing that hour.
Yeah, no, we're coming up on 4 minutes anyway, till the end of the hour, the end of the 2 hours, and but anyway, yeah, I've learned a little bit, not quite a bit, but a little bit prior to my actually having to throw you people into the grinder. With my game coming
grinder
up.
with an R or ER?
No. ER, dude. I'm not gonna fucking make you to go fucking around in a game fucking hookup app. I'm just trying to get you guys ready for this. I've got a pretty intensive situation coming up for y'all. I really do. It's gonna be there. You're gonna be spending quite a bit of time in Manhattan before things go sideways, and that's gonna be fun. I think. Yeah, it will be. It will be a lot of fun because there's a lot of crazy shit going on in New York, even after the Gehenna or non-Gehenna bullshit. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. I'm actually looking very forward to this. I've spent quite a bit of time writing to make sure I don't get this. Wrong, and you guys are just gonna have to deal with my fucking canon shit as that I'm the storyteller, and yeah, if fucking Samicia have a hard time crossing fucking running water, you're gonna deal with it.
Nicola Sombra, my goodness.
No, you didn't, but Eric's played a Giovanni for this one. I'm actually very tickled about that. I've never actually encountered a Giovanni in game.
What are their secondary flaws?
The Giovanni?
Yeah, what's the
the secondary flaw for the Giovanni is the pain from the feeling. That's not their primary one.
Yeah.
Their primary one is not being able to fucking. Oh, no, you're right. It isn't. My bad. No, I was thinking La Sombra again. My bad. It's their primary. Yeah, we lost him. I don't know what happened, but I hope he's okay. Eric, you with us?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, man.
Oh.
Back in, with the last few minutes, man. How much of that did you miss?
Why is this not working? I'm yelling my ass off and nothing is going through.
What did we miss? Come on, talk to us. We got time.
Oh, all I was going to say is that one of the unique experiences about White Wolf games is that it is geared towards adults.
Yes.
And in that same subject, I mean, as an adult and as a storyteller, it really is like Jake was saying, it really is your responsibility to have a good communication with your players.
Yes.
Get what they want, and if they got something that they don't like, make sure that you are open enough for them to tell you that at all times.
Yeah, and they should always feel comfortable coming to you with, I've got an issue here, let's talk about it.
Oh, yes, banana. And, oh, crap, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Of course you did. keep going. Did you miss? How much of that did you miss, dude?
A good like 5, almost 10 minutes there.
Really? No shit. Damn. What were we just talking about, Jake?
I was just segueing back to what Eric was just agreeing with. So that's what we were talking about, pretty much.
Yeah.
I went off on a big tangent.
It was still within the parameters of the storytelling thing. Yeah.
I've been talking so much tonight. That's why you have
yeah, dude. Yeah, but I don't think you talk enough. I'm just saying.
We also are well aware that it's hard to talk over Pete. So
fuck you, dude.
It can be very tricky sometimes. Yeah,
it can be. But if I'm ever speaking too much, please tell me.
If he doesn't just mute me and I'm just sitting here talking to myself.
Hey, listen, back from my DJ days, man, dead air is a bad thing. Oh, yeah, so I always try to make sure there's no dead air ever. And if I am overstepping my bounds in that case, please tell me. I will never take it back. Ever.
Oh, I was just giving you shit, Pete. That's my job.
I know you are, dude. I love you to death, and there's absolutely no reason why I would take that in a bad way. I'm just saying, if I ever overstep and talk too much, somebody talk to me. Somebody say something, because I learned back in the day, it was like, no dead air. You will get fired over dead air. Dead serious, man. My fucking station manager would fire people if there was more than 10 seconds of dead air.
Well, that makes sense for the radio, right?
And that's what I still have going on in my head.
Right? We don't go and edit out the silence.
No, we don't. And that's what I still have going on in my head, is that no dead air, no dead air, no dead air. You know?
Are we at that 2-hour mark yet?
Yeah, we're there, man.
We're going to have to pull up stakes here. So.
Yeah, we're there, man.
All right.
But I wanted to thank you guys tonight for showing up live. And, of course, our guest, Eric, my man. Love him to death. He's very, very useful in person. And he might actually know more than I do about certain things. I don't believe he knows more about canon, but that's just me.
I just spent a lot of time reading crap.
True that. And of course, my friend, my brother, Jacob.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed yourself tonight?
I have. It's been a very lively conversation, and I got some good stuff from Eric. Which is good, and got to tease you about the confusing nature of things, so it's been all good.
You'll just have to deal with it. So, of course, my wonderful folks that have joined us in the channel, FB Fulton and New Wave and Gabriel, and of course Sabrina. Known that she's been an awesome friend of mine for quite some time. So I appreciate your time, I appreciate your effort. Guys, everybody say good night. We're out.
Night, y'all.
Eric.
Yeah.
Say good night, man.
Night.
We're out.